Nectar of Devotion by Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī, translated by Śrīla Prabhupada. Chapter 6, How to Discharge Devotional Service. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī states that his elder brother, Sanātana Gosvāmī, has compiled Hari-bhakti-vilāsa for the guidance of the Vaiṣṇavas, and therein has mentioned many rules and regulations to be followed by the Vaiṣṇavas. Some of them are very important and prominent, and Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī will now mention these very important items for our benefit. The purport of this statement is that Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī proposes to mention only basic principles, not details. For example, a basic principle is that one has to accept a spiritual master. Exactly how one follows the instructions of his spiritual master is considered a detail. For example, if one is following the instruction of his spiritual master, and that instruction is different from the instructions of another spiritual master, this is called detailed information. But the basic principle of acceptance of a spiritual master is good everywhere, although the details may be different. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī does not wish to enter into details here, but wants to place before us only the principles. He mentions the basic principles as follows. 1. Accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. 2. Becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service from him. 3. Obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. 4. Following in the footsteps of great acharyas, teachers, under the direction of the spiritual master. 5. Inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness. 6. Being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This means that when we are engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, we must be prepared to give up something which we may not like to give up, and also we have to accept something which we may not like to accept. 7. Residing in a sacred place of pilgrimage like Dwarka or Vrindavan. 8. Accepting only what is necessary, or dealing with the material world only as far as necessary. 9. Observing the fasting day on Ekadashi. And 10. Worshipping sacred trees like the banyan tree. These 10 items are preliminary necessities for beginning the discharge of devotional service in regulative principles. In the beginning, if a neophyte devotee observes the above-mentioned 10 principles, surely he will make good advancement in Krishna consciousness. So I'd like to comment on these. Accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master means that we have to search out someone who's actually self-realized. It's not enough to accept someone who has some title or some position in some organization. A spiritual master must actually be self-realized. And that means he has permission or he has instructions from his spiritual master to accept and initiate disciples. And he also has confirmation from Krishna. In other words, Krishna has appeared to him in his original form and blessed him, giving him the authority or the blessing that he is a pure devotee. This is very important. I can't overstress this because my point of view since attaining Krishna darshan myself is so different. My consciousness is fundamentally changed. My identity is fundamentally changed from material to spiritual. And because of this, I can give advice from a point of view that the ordinary living entity doesn't have access to, namely the spiritual world. And I'm not saying this to boast, I'm saying this to clarify the principle here. A bona fide spiritual master can, as Krishna says in Bhagavad-gītā 4:3, he can show you the truth because he's seeing the truth. He's seeing Krishna. And that's what this is all about, is approaching Krishna. So one must have a bona fide spiritual master. Then the next thing is one should become initiated by the spiritual master. What does that mean? That means one has to pass the test of the spiritual master and be accepted by the spiritual master. Just like to attain complete self-realization, one has to pass Krishna's test and be accepted by him. In the beginning of devotional service, one has to be accepted by the spiritual master. Well, why is that? Let me tell you a story of Ekalavya. Ekalavya was a Shudra, and he decided he wanted to learn martial arts. So, especially archery, in those days, was taught by great gurus. So he approached Dronacharya. Dronacharya was also the martial arts teacher of the Pandavas and the Kurus and so many important kings. But Ekalavya was a Shudra. So Drona said, no, I'm sorry, I can't teach you. That's not our principles. Our principles are that we only teach those who are born in royal families. I'm sorry, I can't help you. Sent him away. So Ekalavya said, I'm not going to accept this. I'm going to study with him anyway. And he made a deity of Dronacharya. And he worshipped the deity just like actually worshipping a spiritual master, giving him guru puja, making offerings, and so on. And so after many years of studying with Drona in the form of a deity, Ekalavya achieved mastery of the art of archery. And one day Drona and Arjuna and some of the other students were out, and they found some evidence of his great mastery of archery, and they said, who has done this? And so they tracked down Ekalavya, and Ekalavya said, oh, Dronacharya, you're my guru. Drona said, what do you mean I'm your guru? I told you I wouldn't teach you. Why are you saying I'm... And then he showed him, you see, I made a deity of you, and I did all this practice, and now I became a great archer by your mercy. So Drona looked at Arjuna and his other students, and he said, well, if you accept me as guru, then you'll give me guru dakshina, an offering. And Ekalavya said, oh, sure, yes, I'll give you whatever you like. So Drona said, well, then give me your right thumb. This is very significant because for an archer, the right thumb is the necessity to hold the arrow, to fletch the arrow as it's called. So without the right thumb, he would lose all of the advancement that he had made in archery. He would no longer be able to shoot the bow. So Ekalavya cut off his right thumb and gave it to Dronacharya. And that was the end of his career as an archer. So, you see, the relationship with the guru is very important. One has to pass the test of the guru. Ekalavya didn't pass the test. He just assumed that he was the student of Drona. But then when it came right down to it, Drona had never accepted him, so he was in the wrong. Therefore, he lost everything that he had gained. So we see this happening a lot in spiritual life. Someone will superficially approach a Vaiṣṇava, spiritual master, but they won't actually pass this test, and they won't actually take initiation. They'll simply hang around or lurk around and study kind of secondhand. And they may even learn something from this kind of study, but because it's based on an offense, they ultimately lose everything that they gained. You see, the relationship with the spiritual master has to be a favorable one. You can't try to trick or cheat the spiritual master, or then you'll wind up losing everything. So be very cautious to accept the spiritual master in the proper way. And the third item is obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. You have to trust the spiritual master. More than trust, you have to love your spiritual master and perform his instructions out of a feeling of love, out of a trust that my spiritual master has the ultimate knowledge and he's going to give that to me.